You are at the beach and decide to dig a hole in the sand. However, your little sister gets tired of swimming and decides to annoy you. She starts filling in the hole you have begun to dig. Below is a graph that represents the situation. Let t represent time in minutes, and f of t represent the depth of the hole in inches. Answer each question that follows as specifically as possible. So let's label our axis first. So t we have here in time in minutes. And then f of t here is the depth of the hole in inches. Okay, so let's talk about this graph first, because the hardest part about these problems is understanding what you're looking at. So a lot of you thought that this -10, -20 meant that he was 10 inches below ground, 20 inches below ground, which is actually not true. So this is the ground. And because our f of t is the depth of hole in inches, that means that this part right here is 10 inches below the ground, 20 inches below the ground, 30 inches below the ground. So the positive numbers are actually below the ground. So what we're looking at here is every time our graph is increasing, which is here and here, our little boy here is digging his hole. And every time our graph is decreasing, the little sister is filling it back up. So, and then this is just a constant, which means nothing was happening during that time period. So, explain what is happening in the context of the story from t equals 16, is here, to t equals 22, which is here. Okay, so remember we said that purple is when the little sister is filling hole, and blue is digging the hole. Okay, so from 16 to 22, we see that the little sister filled in the hole, and you dug it back up. So you can see she fills in the hole like some amount, and then he digs it back up the same amount and then digs a little bit more. So probably got in maybe like 2 to 4 inches into the ground ultimately in that time period. Our next question is find f of 27 minus f of 0 over 27 minus 0. Include the units. What does this value represent in the context of the story? So remember that f of 27 means when x is 27, what's the y value? So here's 27 right here, and here is where it stops. So it's at about 36, right? 32, 34, 36. So it's about 36. So you have 36 minus f of 0, which is just 0, over 27 minus 0, and you get 36 over 27 inches per minute. So don't forget your units, right? It asks you for the units. So here's one part of our answer. Here's the second part of our answer. Third part of our answer is what does this value represent in the context of our story? And it means that from 0 to 27 minutes, the hole is being dug at a rate of 36 over 27 inches per minute. Remember, we want to be really precise with our language. It says, what does a negative slope represent in the context of our story? So we said that when it's decreasing, that means our little sister is filling in the hole. So that's what our negative slope is. It's the hole is getting filled by the little sister. A lot of you said things like, oh, it's above ground, like that's when, like, she puts too much sand that you make a mound and stuff. Like, it's not actually that. So at this point, it's true, she did make a mound. She went 20 inches above the ground. So that is true, except we're not asking about specifically what is happening when it's decreasing. We're asking about in general, in this story, what would be happening if it was decreasing. Like if it was decreasing up here, she's still below ground, right? But it means that she's filling it in. So that's all that we were looking for. So let's take a look at our next one. It says the table below tracks the distance a marathon runner has covered during a practice session. Time t is measured in minutes since starting, and distance s of t is measured in miles. So we have s of t, which is distance in miles, and t in time, and that's minutes. So those are our units. Answer each question that follows as specifically as possible. When is the runner running the fastest? How can you tell? So in order to do this, we have to find the slope of all of these intervals. So let's start with from 0 to 10. So you have 2 minus 0. Remember, we're doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, you could do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2 as long as it's the same number that you're starting with on top and bottom. It has to be consistent. So we're going to stick with the y2 minus y1 because that's the one I know the best. So from 0 to 10, 2 minus 0 over 10 minus 0, which gives us 2 over 10, which is 1/5, which is 0.20 miles per minute. So then from 10 to 20, you have 3.8 minus 2 over 20 minus 10, which gives you 1.8 over 10, which gives you 0.18 miles per minute. And then 20 to 30. So far, this is our fastest one, right? Our 0 to 10. So from 20 to 30, we have 5.2 minus 3.8 over 30 minus 20, which gives us 1.4 over 10, which is 0.14 miles per minute. So again, still our fastest is 0 to 10. And then we do 30 to 40, which gives us 7.3 minus 5.2 over 40 minus 30, which gives you 0.21 miles per minute. And now our new fastest is 30 to 40. And our last one is 40 to 50, which is 8.2 minus 7.3 over 50 minus 40, which gives us 0.09 miles per minute. So our fastest is going to be 30 to 40. And how I can tell is because I just found the slope of all of these values, and this is the interval that has the greatest slope. So greatest slope. Okay, and then it says find the slope of the line through 10 of f of 10 and 40 f of 40. What does this value represent? So remember f of 10, that means when x is 10, what's your y? So we are going to solve this. So my y2 f of 40, so here let me write this out, f of 40 minus f of 10 over 40 minus 10, which gives me 7.3 minus 2 over 40 minus 10, which gives me 5.3 over 30 miles per minute. Don't forget units. Always have units. Even if it doesn't say include units, you should always put your units. And then it says, what does this value represent? It represents from 10 to 40 minutes the velocity, right? Because on a distance versus time graph, the slope is velocity. The velocity was 5.3 over 30 miles per minute. Then it says, estimate how fast the runner is running at 20 minutes. Include the units. So there were two ways that you could do this. Either number one, you could find the intervals of 10 to 20 and 20 to 30 and take the average of the two. Or option number two, and we'll do both, is find the slope between 10 and 30. Okay, so let's look at option 1. So 10 to 20, we already found this, right? So that's 0.18. And 20 to 30, we again already found this. And that's 0.14. And we want to take the average, so you can divide by 2, and that gives you 0.16, and our units are miles per minute. Option number 2 was to find the interval from 10 to 30. And that gives us 5.2 minus 2 over 30 minus 10, which gives you 3.2 over 20, which is also equal to 0.16 miles per minute. So you could do either way. Either way was fine. So just know that you have two options when you're looking at a specific time interval. So it says explain your reasoning for part C. This is really important. We're always explaining why we're doing the things we're doing, and we're trying to be really precise and clear with our language. So the first thing that we did was we took the average of the two intervals to find the exact speed at a specific time, or we find the slope of the two like outside time intervals, so like 10 and 30, two outside time intervals. So our main point for this is that we are trying to find the velocity, which is our slope, to see how fast our runner is going at 20. This looks like we wrote a lot, right? But we're just trying to explain it as best as we can. For those of you taking Calc next year, when you take the AP test, they're looking for things like this. They're looking for you to be really detailed, really precise, really clear with your language. So this is what we need to practice.